Good evening. Welcome to another edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show. My name is Leon Jones, and tonight I'm going to give you another exciting video. Now, before I go on, I was supposed to do a stream tonight, had to work a little overtime, but I did promise my audience I was going to do a pre recorded video. Now, the pre-recorded video that I was going to do involved tattoos, earrings, nose rings. I'm going to put that off. In fact, as soon as this video concludes, I will go right into my community tab and let you know I changed the topic. Now, this is an important topic, and I want to do this. And the title of tonight's video is going to be called Follow the Rainbow. Now, what do I mean by follow the rainbow? Well, as you know, we are living in a society to where it is very libertine. Everything goes for a number of people. However, the individuals that are getting hurt the most are the children. Examples, going back to Fairfax, Virginia, a 15-year-old daughter was raped in the bathroom by one of these transformers who was in a woman's bathroom. She considered itself a woman. Now, again, that transformer was transferred from the high school in Fairfax County, probably to some undisclosed school or location. The father, yes, the father got arrested by police because he wanted to jump on the school board because they didn't do anything about his daughter getting GRAPED. Also had the Jeffrey Dahmer situation. And you have other situations to where you had an individual go into a sauna that was owned by some Asians. Well, she considered himself a woman. But when he walked in to the sauna, he didn't care if there were women and children there. In fact, Antifa didn't go after him or it. Antifa went after the individuals who owned the sauna. Then you had a choir singing. We'll recruit your kids into a lifestyle. You see where this is going? These individuals out here are demonic. And no one in the alphabet community is denouncing this type of behavior. Now, something else is happening. Okay, he looked at RuPaul. Heck, you can even go back to even MASH. Flip Wilson dressing up as Geraldine. And a number of these individuals really aren't trans. They're cross-dressers. There's a difference. See, a true trans actually goes through the operation. Now, some get their penis snipped, some don't. And then a drag queen, that's just somebody who dresses up as a woman for entertainment purposes. And a cross-dresser is one who is a man who dresses as a woman every day. Now, did I lose anybody yet? Good. Because This topic hasn't been talked about enough. There was a situation in Dallas, and I'm going to get to that video in a minute, and I'm going to also get to some articles. But when it comes to the trans community, or let's say the alphabet community, this community, and I did a video on it last week, so some of what you're hearing is all review. In my humble opinion, they don't deserve special rights. Why? Because a number of these individuals who are part of the alphabet community are also part of the minority groups who are already fighting for equality. So why should they get more rights? Sexual orientation is a sexual preference. That's just like me having a preference for a country and a small town woman. I don't get special rights for that. That's a preference or a choice that I made. But when it comes to the alphabet community, they don't denounce any of their bad behavior. And there's a lot more bad behavior. And when we deal with the alphabet community, you have to understand this, that a number of them were molested by some family members. But a lot of the child molestation, particularly in the Black community, has always been swept under the rug. You have a number of women who have boyfriends, and the boyfriends have done some molestation on the mother's children, and she knew about it but did nothing about it. You have predatory or predatory women out there. But again, with all that's going on, the Jeffrey Dahmer situation again, the alphabet community does not denounce their own. They don't care about their own. Now, I'm not saying everybody in the alphabet community is bad, but there are enough of you out there who should be calling out the bad behavior, just like I do as a Black man. Black do some uncanny, or they have some uncanny behavior sometimes, just like whites, just like everybody else. But when you don't call it out or denounce it, you're just as bad as the person who didn't call it out. Well, who has had the behavior, but you didn't call it out. You're walking away from it. Omission is just as bad as the person who is basically performing this bad behavior. With all that being said, the alphabet community is hurting the children. You have children who are basically going to get paid in the state of California to have sex change operations. That makes no sense. How is a child responsible when they don't even know how to spell their name yet, when they don't even know how to write in cursive? When you give a child that much power, you're putting clothes on a child that's the opposite sex. In other words, you're putting girls' clothes on a boy. You're confusing that boy. But this is what some individuals in the alphabet community want to do. My opinion about some of them is they are very delusional and selfish. They want to use the kids because the kids don't know any better. Now, I'm going to get ready to show some videos and articles in just a second. But before I go on, let's share this one time. Fair use. That's right, fair use. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use and is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe on copyright under 17 USC 107. Well, USC stands for United States Code. So, in other words, 17 USC 107, Section 107 is basically limitations on exclusive rights, which that is known as fair use. Now, what I'm going to do is get into a video. And a video that is a must see. Bear with me. Here we go. Now, let me tune it up a little bit. Oh, one moment before I get back in it. Let me share it again. Make sure I share my screen and do it right. Put the sound on. Now, let me wait for the commercial because this is something you need to see. And this is from WFAA TV in Dallas, Texas. Fair use.
This is the Drag the Kids to Pride event at Mr. Misters in Dallas's Oaklawn neighborhood. Organizers promoted it as a family-friendly drag show where kids danced with the performers. What came with it were protests outside.
You people are the symptom of a dying society, and you know it.
You're scaring children! Shut up! I live in this community. I have for several years.
Daisy says she first saw a poster for this event near where she lives.
I don't believe that I should be seeing signs advertising for children to be dancing on stage with men in thongs and in inappropriate clothing and makeup.
The organizers say today was a family-friendly event with a safe environment separate from their normal operations. In a statement, they said, "We believe everyone should have a space to celebrate who they are. Mr. Misters is a place where everyone is welcome to feel accepted, safe, and included."
I've been here like every night throughout the week.
AJ Cruz has worked at Mr. Misters for about 2 years now. He said today's event allows people to express themselves.
There was a lot less people drinking today, so that would make it more kid-friendly just because there's so many people here. Everyone just came from all walks of life and, you know, just enjoyed Pride.
Organizers said they've received threatening emails and phone calls from the protesters.
I do not in any way condone the behavior that these people are engaging in, but what drags me out here is it's kids now.
Dallas police said they went to the event and protest to assist with crowd control and cleared the scene once the event was over. In Dallas, I'm Jay Wallace.
Well, okay. One moment. Just bear with me.
Controversy over this Texas drag show. The Dallas bar filled with families and kids.
All right, everybody, good job.
Some children seen dancing and tipping drag entertainers.
Back in my day, which I quit doing drag 8 years ago, we would have never, if anybody even would have asked us to do a show for a child, the answer would have been no.
We need to do something as soon as possible.
Texas State Representative Brian Slayton drafting a new bill that would ban kids from attending drag shows.
Isn't it up to the parents to let them decide what they can do and can't do with their kids? Why make it a law?
Well, we have a lot of laws to protect children, and even some of those laws to protect parents who make horrible decisions for their children. So this is totally appropriate.
I almost feel like this is an attack on us. Like, what kind of a danger it was for those kids in.
In Houston this weekend, several drag events are scheduled for Pride Month. Fox News hosting a drag brunch, raising money for charity.
They can expect a specialty drag performance, musical interludes, in addition to your usual snooze fare. So drag alongside your mimosa.
What do you want to tell people that think children and families shouldn't be going to something like this?
Well, I'm not the one to tell people what they should or shouldn't do, but what I know is we do events like this all the time, and we love to celebrate inclusivity.
New possible legislation gaining strong opinions from both sides.
The kids were having a good time. If the lawmakers want to know what is a danger, look at the school shootings.
Leave the kids alone, let them grow up and go through natural puberty, and whenever they get 18 years old, make their decisions from there.
Fair use.
The state rep says he's still drafting this bill and could still make changes. We're live in Montrose tonight. Matthew Seedorf, Fox 26 News.
Well, shows you two videos. Now, again, I don't have a problem with what they're doing. It's just bringing kids into an adult type of atmosphere. It's like a club. Now, the legislation that is taking place, I don't believe government should be in everything, but government should be there to protect our rights. If the alphabet community is so inclined to enjoy their lifestyle, why don't they enjoy it with people like themselves instead of children? Underneath, they want to recruit children into their lifestyle. And to me, that is very dangerous. Now, again, I don't care what people do with their lives, but children who are innocent should not be involved in this behavior until they get old enough to understand what's going on. And if they want to become part of the alphabet community, it should be their choice. But they need to be grown adults. Too often in this country, we are over-sexualizing children. This is why we have the dysfunction today. Now, I'm going to share something else with you all. Just bear with me one moment, because this is also important, very important. Share my screen again. Okay, that is gone. Let me bring up my email again, because this is very pertinent that we understand what's out here. And that was about the Dallas protesters. Now I'm going to continue to talk. In this country, I see a lot of things happening that I've never seen before. That's not progression. Now you have some, and I'm not going to get into the political parties. I'm just going to talk pure common sense here. Just because I don't believe something doesn't mean I'm not progressive. And usually that word progressive comes from somebody who is trying to get me to agree with something. And if I don't agree with something that they're doing, they're going to throw an ad hominem attack at me or tell me I'm not progressive. They're going to try to tell me about myself without hearing my side of the story. Generally, this is what happens to individuals who are doing deviant behavior. Now, again, as I repeat myself, children should be off limits. And the problem with a number of parents today is you have a number of them who are friends with their children. They're using their children just like property. Some of these mothers out here, and I'm saying mothers, well, they're encouraging their sons and their daughters to be part of this lifestyle. However, a child should grow up normally. Be a child. We're trying to get children into environments that are basically off limits. And to me, that doesn't help a child. That confuses a child. Now, I'm going to go into some more information for you, and I'm going to talk about more of this transgender stuff here, because you need to hear this. All right. California governor signs bill offering legal refuge to transgender youths. So, and this is from NBC News, and I'm not a fan of NBC News, but I'm just putting this news out there so you all know what's going on. Now, Gavin Newsom basically has said no one should be prosecuted for the care they need, and that's including gender affirming care. Now, this comes from, again, NBC News, dated 30 September 2022. California Governor Gavin Newsom signed a bill Thursday that aims to legally protect transgender youths and their parents if they flee from conservative states that have restricted access to gender affirming care. Again, you see where I'm going with this? Conservative states that restrict access to gender affirming care. Now, the bill seeks to offer refuge to trans minors and their families if they're being criminalized in their home states. Now, State Senator Scott Weiner, who introduced the bill, said on Twitter after Newsom signed it, Weiner said states like Texas and Alabama are seeking to tear these families apart, referring to efforts in both states to bar parents from providing their trans children with medical care like puberty blockers and hormone therapy. Well, from my humble opinion, it is not the state's job to provide hormones or cosmetic surgeries to individuals who want to become trans, or if they're already trans. That's not the job of the taxpayers. Now, in February, Texas Governor Greg Abbott called on the state's Department of Family and Protective Services to conduct a prompt and thorough investigation of any reported instances of minors undergoing elective procedures for gender transitioning. He also encouraged anyone who works with children in that state and regular citizens to report parents providing such care. Following the directive, the department, which we're talking about, the Department of Family and Protective Services, confirmed that it opened at least 9 investigations. But state courts, since they've blocked most of these investigations. Now, in Alabama, Governor Kay Ivey signed a bill that makes it a felony for medical professionals to provide gender affirming medical care to people under 19. She said, we should especially protect our children from these radical life-altering drugs and surgeries when they are at such a vulnerable stage in life, Ivey said in a statement at that time. So a judge partially blocked enforcement of the law in May. Tennessee also proposed a law prohibiting gender affirming care for pubertal youth, though basically advocates said at that time that there were no doctors in that state who provided transition care to children prior to puberty. Now, as a result of the policies, some families of transgender minors have decided to leave their home states so they can continue to access gender affirming care, which is supported by accredited medical groups, including the AMA, which is the American Medical Association, the American Psychological Association, and the American Academy of Pediatrics. Now, the bill that Newsom signed is intended to protect families and children like those from prosecution in their home states if they travel to California for gender affirming care, or if they move to California after already receiving transition related care elsewhere. We believe that no one should be prosecuted or persecuted for getting the care they need, and that includes gender affirming care. Newsom said in a statement after signing the measure, with the signing of this bill, California will ensure that these kids and their families can seek and obtain the medical and mental health care that they need. So legislation includes a variety of provisions that are meant to protect families and trans kids. It prohibits California healthcare providers from releasing medical information in relation to other states' laws prohibiting gender affirming care for minors. It also prohibits the enforcement of a court order based on another state's law authorizing a child to be removed from their parent or guardian on that parent and guardian allowing their child to receive gender affirming health care or gender affirming mental health care. The bill also authorizes a California court to take temporary emergency jurisdiction when a child hasn't been able to receive gender affirming health care elsewhere, which some on social media interpreted to mean that California courts will be able to take custody of the children if they flee their home states because their parents don't want to provide them with gender affirming care. But this isn't accurate, according to Asif Orr, a senior staff attorney and transgender youth project director at the National Center for Lesbian Rights. Orr said that portion of the bill is related to a court's jurisdiction in custody matters. Now, again, this is from NBC News. NBC News is a liberal mainstream network. Now, state courts around the country have the authority to consider whether to retain jurisdiction over a custody matter involving a child who recently came into the state. Again, state courts around the country do have the authority to consider whether to retain jurisdiction over a custody matter involving a child who recently came into the state, or told Reuters. This typically occurs in instances of domestic violence or other crisis situations. And also, the law simply clarifies that the courts should retain jurisdiction in situations where a parent brings their child to California so that they can obtain medical treatment for gender dysphoria. Gender dysphoria is a medical condition that involves a conflict between an individual's sex assigned at birth and their gender identity. Now, again, we should not be paying for, I call it cosmetic surgery. Now, again, California is one of those liberal states. And this bill involves children. What happened to parents taking care of their children? I really believe that the alphabet community has gone overboard with this. It's not human rights. How can a child decide whether they want to be a man or a woman? Who's influencing the decisions? Are the parents doing it? Are the people on the left doing it? I don't know. But when it comes to children, again, children need to be protected. I mean, we let a lot of things, women have more rights than children. Hell, you have a number of women out here who kill their children, not just through the abortion, but they've stuffed them in the freezer, they've driven them in the ocean in a car, and they've got more rights than children. I'm not saying all women, but it is true. Got a woman that had some kids die when she tried to drive into the Hudson River. And when it comes to our children, children are used as pawns by both mother and father over money. My question is, if you can't protect your children, why should you have them? And allowing them to be taught by individuals who are willing to corrupt your children and the lifestyles, and you as parents, there's some of you who aren't allowing it, but there's some of you who are allowing it. You need to know what is being taught and who's teaching your children in schools. About 2 weeks ago, I saw this shop teacher, a man with fake breasts, teaching the shop class. Could see the nipples. Why wasn't there anything done like that? And when I mean like that, why wasn't anybody ready to dismiss this teacher? That's what I mean, like that. I have to be very careful with my words here because I can get flagged. And again, I'm not going on everybody in the alphabet community, but listen, if you're not denouncing this behavior and you're in the alphabet community, omission is the same as letting it slide. And that's what a number of you are doing. And it seems to me that a number of you in the alphabet community don't care about your own people. You're there to enjoy the sex with each other. But when it comes to getting into communities or environments that involve children, you don't have a problem with it. Now, that one former drag queen on the second video, I commend him. He was right. Years ago, children wouldn't be allowed to participate in these adult havens. Children can't even go into a regular club. Why should they be allowed to go into a transgender club? You've had it where boys are getting on stage, dancing, stripping in some of these transgender clubs. Nobody's done anything. Here in America, it's backwards. We allow a lot of deviant behavior. And the funny thing about it is when you try to do the right thing, you look like you do the wrong thing. You look like you're going to be called a bigot, some name like a misogynist, some name like homophobic. I don't dislike anybody who has an alternate lifestyle. I dislike the behavior with their lifestyle when it involves children. Children are going to be our next leaders. We don't need them confused. We already have enough confused people. Let me show you something else as I continue here. This is one and it really shocked me. But this is from the state of Oklahoma. Now, politically, Oklahoma is a red state. Oklahoma to fund transgender procedures on kids. Let's get into it. Amid growing national controversy over the ethics of performing transgender services on youth that include lifelong impacting procedures such as puberty blocking hormones and surgeries on healthy bodies, state lawmakers may be poised to indirectly fund such activity in the state of Oklahoma. Now, in my tenure as a Republican state representative, the legislation has given Oklahoma the largest tax increase in Oklahoma history, the largest corporate welfare in Oklahoma history, and now it could turn a blind eye. It turns a blind eye and deaf ear to the most outrageous abuse upon our youngest children in Oklahoma history, said State Representative Tim Gann, Republican of Enola. Now, our duty as representatives is to demand accountability from the medical community who receives tax dollars by denying any funding until the abuse practice of gender reassignment top surgeries, bottom surgery referrals, prescribing hormone blockers to minor children is stopped and outlawed. Now, lawmakers are scheduled to meet this week in a special session to spend more than $1.1 billion in federal funds that the Oklahoma state government received through the American Rescue Plan Act, known as ARPA. Now, ARPA passed Congress in 2021 and is a key component of President Joe Biden's economic agenda. The federal spending, in combination with other factors, has been credited with fueling record levels of inflation. So now the University of Oklahoma Children's Hospital is among the entities expected to receive millions of dollars in ARPA funds. It's prompted concern from many lawmakers because the Children's Hospital operates the Roy G. Biv program, which provides puberty blockers to children and also refers youths to doctors who will perform top and bottom surgeries designed to physically alter a patient's body to look like that of the opposite sex. Now, the website for the Oklahoma Children's Hospital states, no matter where you live in Oklahoma or the surrounding region, you can take advantage of the Adolescent Medicine Roy G. Biv program at Oklahoma's Children's Hospital, OU Health in Oklahoma City, to help you address concerns about gender identity and sexual orientation. The website also states with the Roy G. Biv program will serve the mental health, nutritional, and medical records of the LGBTQ youth, including those moving toward gender affirmation, and those who identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, pansexual, asexual, or other sexual orientation. Female to male transgender, male to female transgender, and non-binary, gender fluid, agender, or other gender. The website promises the Children's Hospital will provide gender-affirming scope of treatment that includes pausing puberty to further explore gender, managing gender-affirming hormone therapy, and helping find surgeons who will perform gender-affirming surgeries. Now, such services are coming under increased scrutiny due in part to a recent expose of a similar program in Tennessee involving a national counterpart of the OU Children's Hospital. Political commentator Matt Walsh, who writes for the conservative Daily Wire website, recently released the findings of his staff's investigation of a Vanderbilt clinic that provides transgender treatments and surgeries to youth. Walsh's reporting also found that Vanderbilt's clinic offered to perform double mastectomies on adolescent girls who identified as transgender males, as well as hormone therapy on youth as young as 14 years old. Now, one video obtained by Walsh showed that a Vanderbilt official said the clinic was performing transgender operations on youth because the surgeries are a big money maker, in part because the surgeries require a lot of follow-ups. In another video obtained by Walsh, one Vanderbilt official lambasted medical officials who might be object to performing the surgeries, who might object. Again, there's another video that came out by Matt Walsh. Again, Matt Walsh, if you're not familiar with him, is a political commentator. And he basically said that one Vanderbilt official lambasted medical officials who might object to performing the surgeries or treatments on youth due to religion's beliefs, declaring, now, if you don't want to do this kind of work, don't work at Vanderbilt. Again, State Representative Rick West, Republican, he said this is child abuse. Again, he said this is child abuse. You've got to be 21 to pick up a box of cigarettes, buy beer, but you can castrate somebody at the age of 12. You can give somebody hormone treatments to slow down puberty. Now, this right here is alarming. It's sick. Now, you have a lot of greedy individuals who want money. But again, these are kids who don't have a full brain, but they're allowed to call themselves pansexual, asexual, and they don't even know what it means. This is because they've been indoctrinated. Now, after Walsh's report and the videos became public, Tennessee Governor Bill Lee called for an investigation of the Vanderbilt clinic. Other Tennessee state and federal lawmakers quickly voiced support for an investigation. So in a recent meeting with OU officials, State Representative Denise Crosswhite, Republican, said hospital officials acknowledged that the Oklahoma facility was involved in helping 5 juvenile parents receive top surgeries. Now, the Mayo Clinic also reports that there are 2 main types of surgeries for transgender individuals. One procedure removes breast or chest tissue for females who identify as transgender males, and the other procedure is designed to increase breast size and change the shape of the chest, called breast augmentation, and is designed for males who identify as transgender females. Now, these surgeries have been criticized by some medical officials and activists as being medically unnecessary and even harmful to the patient. Now, writing for the Federals, Michael Egner, a professor of neurosurgery and pediatrics at the Renaissance School of Medicine in Stony Brook University, New York, recently declared a well-performed operation is still malpractice or even assault if it is not done for valid medical reasons. He said gender-affirming surgeries are not medically necessary. So surgery for so-called gender affirmation or ill-named sex reassignment grossly violates the ethical canons I have taught, that were taught to me and that were taught to all surgeons until very recently. Egner wrote, such surgery entails radical and irreversible operations on normal, healthy organs. Mastectomy performed on normal breast, amputation of the normal penis and scrotum, of course, with construction of an opening to imitate a vagina. Excision of the normal uterus and ovaries with construction of a skin tube to imitate a penis, among other procedures. These procedures are permanently disfiguring and render patients sterile, or emphasis in original. Now, some gay and lesbian activists have also become increasingly vocal in their opposition to transgender treatments, particularly for youth. Now, good for them. Now, you do have some, according to this article, who are fighting for our youth. Again, I am not here to discredit everybody in the alphabet community, but I will tell you a number of individuals in that community, they had to have something happen to them in their past, and I believe they did. You've had some people out there who were family members, molestation, and you've had some predatory people. And adults, what they do, they have used kids for that specific purpose. Now, in England, as I move on, the LGB Alliance argues that transgender treatments are effectively anti-gay, lesbian, bisexual, declaring that their organization will work to protect children from harmful, unscientific ideologies that may lead them to believe either their personality or their body is in need of changing. In a September 23rd tweet, the organization declared puberty blockers for gender dysphoric children are a scandal. A research article recently published in the Journal of Sex and Marital Therapy reviewed the history and puberty suppression as a treatment for juvenile transsexuals, specifically the use of gonadotropin releasing hormone agonists, that's GnRHA drugs. Now, the article by Michael Biggs of the Department of Sociology at the University of Oxford noted the treatment was initially justified by claims that it was reversible and that it was a tool for diagnosis, but these claims are increasingly implausible. Now, pointing to his own 12-year-old grandson, State Representative Rick West, Republican, said children are not able to rationalize or realize the full consequences of lifelong altering decisions, such as the decision to block puberty through hormone treatments or have their bodies surgically altered. This is child abuse. West said you've got to be 21 again to buy a pack of cigarettes or buy a beer, but they can castrate you at the age of 12, or they can give you hormone treatments to slow down puberty. This is very, very insane to me. Now, with proponents of the hormone therapy and transgender surgeries, they basically claim they benefit the mental health of child patients. West said that it really isn't the case in the long run. Now, one thing you have to understand when it comes to these individuals, and West also agrees with me because I said they think about suicide. And when it comes to suicides, they come basically 2 decades after these children have all of the let me think of another word. After having their body surgically altered, this is when suicides come because they have to deal with a lot. And it's not just with their bodies, psychologically. It's going to affect their mind. Now, they say they don't do anything below the waist, but they send them off to California, West said. Well, that's the same deal. If you recommend patients to somebody else, you might as well say you did it. The Roy G. Biv program at Oklahoma Children's Hospital has also caught lawmakers' attention for another reason. The Biv program is not named for a donor who supported its work because the Roy G. Biv does not exist. Instead, the Roy G. Biv name is an acronym for the sequence of colors commonly associated with the rainbow, which has been adopted as a symbol for the alphabet causes. And this is why I'm calling my video Follow the Rainbow. It is not a donor who came in and said, here's 10 million, do this. Hader said, so the hospital itself, OU Med, is saying they see the need for a transgender clinic for children. That is insane. So, a question, could state ARPA funds pay for youth to get hormone blockers or surgery referrals? Well, given the Roy G. Bibb's program involvement in administering puberty blockers and hormone treatments to Oklahoma youth, along with referrals for gender affirming surgeries, critics worry any ARPA funds given to the OU Health Sciences Center will become an indirect subsidy of the organization's transgender effects. Now, Senate Bill 7XX would have earmarked $39.4 million for the University Hospital Authority, but it was sidelined in June after legislators raised concern about the Roy G. Biv program. SB, which is Senate Bill 7XX, stated that those millions would be used to expand the capacity of mental health care for the children of Oklahoma. Now, you see what they're trying to say for the children of Oklahoma. No, that is for the children to get those surgeries in Oklahoma. Now, Gans said that new legislation directing ARPA money to the OU Center may be debated in the pending special session, scheduled to restart on September 28th. Now, the day is October 5th, so that date is come and gone. Now, he said in the new bill, it may roll the OU funds into a larger package that includes other entities, which could prevent an up or down vote on the OU portion alone. So lawmakers say the pending legislation will likely include language saying the ARPA money cannot be directly used for transgender procedures on children, but critics worry such prohibitions have no practical impact since money is fungible. So they can they can swap money around, West said. They can do anything they want to. Again, when it comes to putting any bill out, you have to understand that the bill is going to have a lot of pork in it. So the language, most people can't understand the language of a bill. This is going to be put in that bill, but it's going to be put under something else. Now, we are being reassured that the funding from ARPA will not specifically go to that. Hader said, but my concern, it's that it's like giving a married couple funds. Even if you give to just one, it benefits both. So if you give them funds for medical records transcription, which I think they've asked for 44 million for that, that frees up 44 million that they're going to do something else with. Now, Hader said she supports funding more inpatient mental health beds in the Oklahoma system, which has been part of the sales pitch from providing for providers. It's basically from providers seeking ARPA funds, but she remains concerned that the cash will be used indirectly to boost funding for other users, including transgender services for children. Critics say lawmakers should first make it illegal to perform any life-altering gender-affirming procedures on children before any money is provided to the OU facility. Now, this year, Gans filed House Bill 3240, which would have created the Oklahoma Save Adolescents from Experimentation, or we call it the SAFE Act. The legislation would have made it illegal for any physician or other healthcare professional to provide professional gender transition procedures to any individual under the age of 18 or refer a youth to another physician for those treatments and procedures. So the bill would have also barred the use of state taxpayer funding for those purposes. Now, that bill, HB 3240, did not receive a hearing. Why? Because they'd like to get something in place that prevents those operations on minor statewide. Gann said, before we give any money to OU. Now, again, I don't care what people do, but you have children out here. Children who are confused. I mean, I've seen a number of children being put in the spotlight. Now, why aren't they using adults? Because children have a higher value. Children don't know anything. And children are more vulnerable. See, a person that has a little more smarts is going to understand what's going on out here. And I've always said, if you want to get any type of agenda through legislation, or you want to manipulate somebody to become part of your lifestyle, go to people who are naive, promise them something, make it look like you're giving them the world. It's like taking candy from a baby. You have people in this country, in the alphabet community, who have problems themselves. But they think what they're doing to children is okay. Now, believe it or not, you have people in this country, and I did a video on this a long time ago, who practice bestiality. What these children need is therapy. They don't need a bill from a grown governor. Tell them, hey, come on over here. We'll pay for your operations. We don't need that. We don't need any bills stating that we're going to surgically alter your body. Because you may feel good today, but are you really thinking the long-term effects? No. You're thinking of today. And this is what a number of people are stuck on today. You know, there are a number of people who have become trans who have committed suicide because you're going to deal with a lot of backlash. You see, you may alter your body, but what about your mind? That's what nobody is saying. You may think you're cute. You may think that it's okay. But in the end, how is it going to affect your life? These are questions that people never ask. Now, I'm surprised at Oklahoma. California, I'm not so surprised at. But this is child abuse. I mean, you have children who go through the foster system. They get passed around like a hot potato from foster system to foster system. Parents use children from the foster system to line their pockets. The child support system uses children to line their pockets. Now, the only thing that I can see with this measure is you have some medical professionals who want to make more money. Money is always the key to everything. Remember something about money. It can make an honest man become devious because money creates a temptation. Well, you have to tell these children out here to watch out who they involve themselves with. And the first start is the public school system. Now, again, I'm not saying everybody from the alphabet community is bad, because every community has its bad apples, however. But when you don't denounce the devious or the deviant behavior, that does make you bad, because that means you're allowing it by not saying anything about it. You think it's okay. And when people like me speak about it, what do you want to do? You want to cancel me. You want to become a coward. No, if there's an issue like abusing children for surgically altering their bodies, but they have not had the mind to understand what living life is, yes, it should be talked about. And you parents out there who are allowing it, particularly you moms, because I've seen some moms out there, and shout out to Brother Nate. He had a picture where a mom just, she thought it was all right. And the mom looked a little bit masculine herself. But individuals out there, you're using your children to satisfy your agenda too. That's a problem. Now, again, when it comes to the alphabet community, I mean, some of you are utilizing the parades to perform sex acts in front of children. Again, the incident where a man walked into a business, and this man was part of the city council. I believe it was in the state of Oregon. But the 80-year-old man shut him down because the 80-year-old was not going to allow an individual from the alphabet community to bully him, to tell him how to run his business. And this is what happens generally with individuals who are on the left side of the political spectrum. Everybody knows that their behaviors don't make any sense, but yet to get people to go along with their nonsense, what they do, they cancel. And to cancel somebody because they don't agree with a lifestyle, a religion, a gender, that makes you look like a coward. That means you cannot refute the issue. And that means also, if you're canceling somebody who's coming after you because your behavior is deviant, that means they're telling the truth about you. And if you look at social media has allowed a lot of this BS as well. Again, I am going to go into something. You look at a number of women today. They get on Kendra G's show. You have some of them who are looking for other women. You have men who are looking for men. You have people like Lil Nas X riding in a video, getting on top of a devil. You have Billy Porter. You look at the BET Awards, especially when it comes to a number of black men. You look at how we're treated if we don't agree with the agenda. You look at a couple of individuals like Mr. Letgo and Dr. Umar. They were fooled by Hope Giselle, who was on Fox Soul. And guess what? We found out, well, I already knew that her name was Sam. SAM is an acronym that I made up. It stands for Surgically Altered Man. And in fact, Hope Giselle, who is a black man itself, was talking bad about black men, trying to be on the side of a black woman. She thinks she's a woman. Biologically, she's a man. The person, again, who went into the sauna of that Asian shop. It was a sauna. Antifa came after the Asians who owned it in front of children. Said she's a woman. Again, look at the volleyball. Transgender playing on the volleyball. The girls had to go somewhere else because the transgender person got pretty rude in there in the locker room. And see something else that has happened. I remember the NBA All-Star game was supposed to take place in Charlotte, North Carolina. It didn't. And this is during the time when Obama was president. Why didn't it take place? Because they did not want any unisex bathrooms or bathrooms for transgendered people. So the question is, why should they get special treatment? Sexual orientation is not something that, to me, should be getting equal benefits. Because sexual orientation, in my humble opinion, is sexual preference. There is no science out there that individuals are born whatever you are, outside of male and female. That's it. But, in the long run, kids are going to be affected. You have teachers, transgender teachers. You also have the Health and Human Secretary. And see, these individuals aren't used based on what they really know. They're used as a symbol. And in the Biden administration, he has a few. He's trying to show that it's diversity, but diversity is a problem. It's a problem because it's fake. You're just putting people up there based on how they look. You're not putting people in power based off of their qualifications. And you're trying to show that you're not prejudiced. No, you're pandering. That's the problem. And too often in this country, a number of these minority groups, like women, like the alphabet community, they get all the power because they're pandered to, because if you don't give them what they want, they'll cancel you. What are absolute cowards for doing that? They want you to hear what they say, but if you go against what they say or you disagree with them, then you are put on blast by the mainstream media. This is why I don't watch news on television. So, in the end, be careful when you follow the rainbow. Parents, I'm especially talking to you. If you have children, you start watching who's teaching your children. And if it's something that you don't feel comfortable with, take your children out of school, homeschool. Because in the end, your children are going to be the next leaders. Because if we get children in the wrong hands, they become dazed and confused. And in the end, their minds and their bodies will be confused. Why? Because today they might be one gender that they want to be, but in the future, they could end up suicidal. Why? Because they were taught that what they wanted to do with their bodies and minds was all right by adults who had an agenda. And these adults were demonic. So when it comes to children, you have to watch what goes on in your household. You can't have your children around dysfunctional people, because they can be absolutely normal, but be dysfunctional. Social media, you have to get your kids off of social media as well, because a lot of this bad behavior comes from social media. You have to turn off the idiot box, because TV is putting a lot of garbage on to basically market to kids, mark behaviors to kids that they don't know. Because in the end, when it comes to your kids or our kids, kids are valuable. And we have to protect them. And if you're not in a position to protect your children, don't have children. Because your children are your lineage. Make sure your children understand what's going on. Because education is ruining our children. Religion is ruining our children. Government, work, and media. Those five conferences of society have a number of people in those categories or departments who are dysfunctional, who are dishonest, who are messed up themselves. So in the end, provide a good life for your children so they can succeed in life, because you only get one life. And at the end of the day, when your children succeed, you as a parent can thank yourself for making the sacrifices by giving your children a life that you had. Because when it comes to your children, let your children be free. Let your children be children. Don't get them involved in these ideologies, because the ideologies are going to corrupt your children. I mean, a number of adults are already corrupted because they didn't get the help. I'm not knocking the alphabet community, but you in the alphabet community, if you're so loyal, some of you need help as well. Don't recruit children into your lifestyle. Let children be children. Be whoever you want to be, but leave the children out of it. Children are innocent, not deviant. Children only know what we teach them. So in the end, teach your children how to be model citizens. And that's my commentary for this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. If you like what I just presented, please comment, share, and subscribe. And if you're looking for some educational content, please check out my other channel, the QCIS channel. On that channel, I give you a daily dose of science, technology, engineering, and math. Now, if you cannot find the 411 Talk Zone radio show or the QCIS channel on YouTube, you can check both of those channels out on Twitter. Now, for the QCIS channel, I take it one step further since it is an educational channel. You can check that channel out on LinkedIn. And at the end of the day, I'm going to leave you with this. Be blessed for what you have. Don't worry about what you don't have. Always know that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. And of course, my content, if it doesn't apply, let it fly. But if the shoe fits, wear it. If you don't like the shoe, change it. And once again, thank you for listening to this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. Till next time, My name is Leon Jones. Want you all to have a wonderful and gracious evening. God bless you. I'm out.